I don't know why, but I feel like in the church we've made the word pleasure synonymous with sinful, or pleasure synonymous with bad, that we're not called to experience pleasure, that we're not called to enjoy pleasure too much. Jesus said himself, I have come to give you life and life to the fullest. Like God in his infinite wisdom, God in his grace, God in his mercy and his love towards us gave us the gift of laughter. Is that God has also called us to enjoy himself and enjoy creation. There is nothing more satisfying, nothing more greater than what is up, everyone. We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture. Shaping the Code. What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture podcast. Hope all is well with you all. Listen, today I am super excited because we are talking about a topic I don't think is talked about enough in the Christian church, in Christian culture. And I am joined today by Parker. You're going to hear his audio.
That's me. I'm here.
He's here in the flesh.
Oh, man.
I feel like there's spiritual warfare going on because we try to get this man on camera.
Man, look, there's clearly a plan that God has for my life because there's a lot of warfare in a lot of areas. Amen.
He said you need to be hidden in this season.
My God, clearly. But that's not what we're here to talk about. That's next week's episode.
He said you could be heard. You just got to be hidden. My
goodness. They want the words, but they don't want the vessel. My God.
Let him use you. Let him use you how he sees fit to use you.
Clearly, this is how he sees fit. My God.
He said, I'm going to block your image. Anyways, we Parker and I talk about this often. Here, let me give some context. I think that right now in the Christian church, everything is so heavy, bro.
My God, bro.
You got to die to yourself. You got to sacrifice.
Bring out your sin. Ask for the fire.
He said, ring out your sin.
I don't care.
Oh, man, we love Philip. He needs to come on the podcast ASAP. Hey, somebody, Philip Individual, if you're watching this, please come on the channel. We would love to have you.
I don't know if we got to talk to his admin, if we got to talk to an assistant, the chief of staff, somebody make the connection.
Somebody not emailing us back.
Look, we've been to Atlanta. Y'all know what's going on. The circles ain't that big there. Come on now.
But like, and we love that. I think there's space for that. I think we need that, and I do think there is the need to talk about holiness and dying to flesh, dying to sin. We actually can't talk about that enough. However, I think part of the problem is if that's all the conversations we're having, we don't have a balanced diet. And I think there's more to the Christian faith than dying to self. I think that's a big part of it. I think that's a daily rhythm that we must engage in, right? Multiple times a day, multiple times an hour. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you every hour. I wish I could sing.
That clearly did not stop you.
No. What? Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. I didn't bring melody to that, but you know the song. I think like. There's tension here because I don't want you guys to hear me say that that we shouldn't wring out our sin or that we shouldn't be holy or we shouldn't die to self. I think we do need to do that. However, there's a whole nother part of the Christian faith that I don't feel like we're talking about. And this other part of the Christian faith that we're not talking about is that God has also called us to enjoy himself and enjoy creation, enjoy relationships, right? Enjoy food, enjoy travel, enjoy rest, enjoy play. And that's what I want to talk about today with Parker. Hey, let's get back to also talking about what it looks like to enjoy life, because Jesus said himself, I have come to give you life and life to the fullest. And so today we're going to talk about what it looks like to enjoy life and live life to the fullest. And I want to anchor this conversation by talking about how we are first and foremost called to enjoy God. So when we think about God, God isn't just somebody that we serve, that we sacrifice for, that we love on, that we worship. All of that is true. Okay, please don't hear me wrong. However, he's also called us to enjoy himself. Part of the reason why he sent Jesus, the reason why the Father sent Jesus to come and die on the cross for our sins, isn't just so he can get us into heaven. He sent his one and only begotten Son so that he, through Jesus's life, death, and resurrection, can restore an intimate relationship with us. Sin was getting in the way of our relationship with the Father, so he took care of sin by sending his Son so that we could get back to Eden, get back to the garden, get back to fellowship, get back to communion, get back to enjoy. Like, we were called to enjoy him, to know him and to love him and to rest in him. And I think that, like, if we miss that part of Christianity, we are going to drag our feet, because life isn't just about sacrifice. It's also about enjoyment. There's a passage in Psalm 16, verse 11 that reads like this. You make known to me the path of life. Watch this. In your presence, there's fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Y'all catch what the psalmist just said? In your presence, there is fullness of joy, and at your right hands are pleasures forevermore. I've got two questions for us today. How can you get more fuller than full? And what's longer than eternity? So watch this. When he says, in your presence, there is fullness of joy. So the psalmist is telling us that in the presence of God, you can't get any more joy. That, like, at his right hand, like, there's the cap, the foot, like, there is no greater joy, greater happiness, greater thing that you can find. Like, it's optimal. You know, the thing that we look for in people, the thing that we look for in money, the thing we look for in food, the thing we look for in approval, like, all of that, we're just itching and itching and itching and seeking and seeking and seeking. And the psalmist tells us, like, no, like, in his presence, it's full. Meaning, once you drink from this cup, once you get in his presence, you have everything that you've ever longed for. And I love how he says, like, that there's fullness of joy. Like, I think about David, who says, better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. Better is one day. David is essentially saying that when you're in his presence and experience the joy that he gives, listen, I don't care if you're in Cancun, Bora Bora, Jamaica. I don't care if if you're going to a 5-star rating restaurant. I don't care who you married. I don't care how much is in your bank account. Like, what I experience, the presence of God is greater than the presence of man. The presence of God is greater than the presence of money. The presence of God is greater than the presence of a foreign country. Like, there is nothing more satisfying, nothing more greater than him. And when you're in his courts, you don't drag your feet. When you're in his courts, you don't complain and whine. When you're in his courts, you can't get enough of it. Better is here, right? It's full. And then he goes on to say, and at your right hand are pleasures. We don't talk about this enough. Everybody's like, I don't know why, but I feel like in the church we've made the word pleasure synonymous with sinful, or pleasure synonymous with bad, that we're not called to experience pleasure, that we're not called to enjoy pleasure too much, or that we're not called to partake in pleasure. Listen, guess who created pleasure? God. And the psalmist is telling us that at his right hand, we will experience pleasure, not for a little while, not for, when you go on vacation, it's like, man, it's going to be a good time for a week. And then, day 5, day 6, you're like, oh man, I'm about to have to go home. You start opening up your emails, you start looking at those text messages, and you start to realize like this vacation's coming to an end. But the psalmist is saying the pleasures at his right hand go on forever and ever and ever and ever, that there is no end and there is nothing longer than eternity. And so the psalmist is saying, come enjoy God. His presence is there's fullness of joy in his presence. And at his right hand, there are pleasures that last for eternity. And I don't think we talk about that part of God. We talk about how he's loving. We talk about how he gives purpose. We talk about his standard. We talk about the sacrifice. But like, where are the conversations surrounding the fact that he's also enjoyable, that he's also a good time, that like prayer doesn't have to be simply a discipline, that when you get in his presence, your cup gets full, that you find joy, that you find pleasure, that you find goodness, that's what James says. Every good gift comes from the Father of light. Like, that God is not boring, that God is not the thing that you just got to do to get through your day, but God can be the best part of your day. And I don't know, like I grew up African. And so, a lot of my childhood, like a lot of my interactions with my parents were connected to chores and grades. And it's like, oh, I'm just here to, talk about what needs to get done. But like, God's like, no, I'm not. When I invite you in my presence, I'm like, think about this. What if when he calls you into his presence, he doesn't just convict, but he sings over you? What if when you're called into his presence, he doesn't just tell you what's wrong with you, but he tells you how he's pleased with you because of his son, Jesus? What if you're in his presence, he doesn't just tell you who you need to forgive, but he tells you how forgiven you are? Like, we don't talk enough about this idea that God is pleasurable, that God is joyful, and God is life-giving. Like that, where is that in the gospel presentation? That God isn't just holy. He is, don't get me wrong. God isn't just perfect. He is. God isn't just demanding of our lives. He's also pleasurable. He's also enjoyable. He's also got infinite amount of joy, and better is one day in his courts than thousands elsewhere. What do you think about that, Parker?
Yeah, I agree. I think something that I've noticed is that I think some of what I see is a response to two things. I think one, the time and age that we're in.
Yeah.
Just as we get closer to like the return of Christ and all of those things that we see in Scripture.
Yeah.
I think also like it's a response to, I think, having a perspective of, because I have grace, I can do whatever I want. And so I think that when you go from, right, I'll say like in the generation that I grew up in was like a lot of just like grace, there's love, there's enough for you. Like you can never stray too far away. I think prior to that, like the pendulum just is always going to swing back and forth, right? And so you're going to go from preaching hellfire and you're going to hell, damnation, right? To like, yo, there's the other side is there's grace. There's more grace that he has to give than sin that you can commit, which is true. I think that when you go to those extremes, you don't find the middle ground. Right. So I feel like because we are so much on grace right now, again, because of the time that we're in, and also because the previous movement was so much more grace, it's like, no, like you need to wring out your sin, you need to repent. And I think like we were talking about this a little bit before, where some of the people, there are people that I can think of right now that are so, that put a very strong emphasis on holiness and seeing God rightly and responding correctly and doing away with things of your past life because of like the danger of it and where that can lead you and different things like that. And while that's true, everybody has their own story to tell. And so for me personally, like growing up in a Christian home, my vices are going to be a little bit different. And so there are certain things that I'm not as sensitive to and that may not be an issue for me. And so I think that sometimes like when we hear people who will be like, deal with your sin, this and that, yada, 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 we can take that to the extreme and just hear about the cost and the burden of following the Lord, which there is and that we need to be aware of. To that point, to your earlier point, though, in addition to that, there's a joy. And so while there is a burden and a death that comes daily, we're also promised that the burden and the yoke that we have is light. Like that's part of the promise of going to follow Christ. And so I think that that's something that I wouldn't say that isn't talked about per se, but I do feel like more recently what I hear is such a heavy emphasis on the cost, the burden, the weight, the struggle. And like, yeah, that's true. Also, the more you lift the weight, the easier it becomes. You know what I'm saying? And so like, it's just not, I'm not going to say it's not that deep because it is.
It is. Yeah.
I would just say there are
You're just
other
trying to
things
bring balance to it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There are just other things to consider. Like it doesn't
right.
always have to be like I don't know. To me in scripture, right? Or when I look at my life and my walk with Christ, I'll say that, right? When I look at the walk that I've had with Christ, I've never known him to be something where it's only struggle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, will there be times of that? Absolutely. That's also something we're promised.
Right.
I'm also promised peace in the midst of that and also seasons of that.
Right.
I don't remember who, it might have been C.S. Lewis. I don't remember. But whoever said, this too shall pass. Yeah. And that's not just for times of difficulty. That's also times of positive things as well. Right. But in both instances, like there's always going to be different seasons. And some of those seasons are God just being like, yo, you can chill. Like, just this is where we're at right now. Because that, like, seasons of calm can also teach you something. Yeah. Because, like, when you're in the valley, there's a lot of stuff that gets exposed, that gets developed in you, that gets strengthened. There's also stuff that gets exposed, like, in times of calm. Like, do you love the Lord the way that you say you do when everything is going right, when everything is cool, when the wind is at your back? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I just feel like there's just a lot. There are other things to consider when we talk about, like, cost and what comes with being a true, like, disciple and a follower of Christ.
Well said. Yeah, I agree 1,000%. And I think that like that's a great segue into the other part of enjoyment. It's also enjoying life, right? Like, and this is the cool thing, like common grace. This is the cool thing about our God. You don't necessarily even have to be a Christian to enjoy life. There's this like, I believe it was C.S. Lewis who said this, for the non-believer, for the unsaved person, earth is the only heaven they'll experience. But for the believer, the follower of Jesus, the disciple of Jesus, earth is the only hell they'll experience. So I love that saying. It unpacks so much, but like what I want to lean into is this idea that like there are pockets of heaven here. I think about the song Blessings with Big Sean and Drake. Way up, I feel blessed. It's an oldie, but I remember Drake in one of his lines in that song, he says, I don't imagine heaven getting much better than this. And I was like, brother.
Boy, do I have news for you.
Do I have a gospel presentation for you? Because for the believer, this is the only hell. So like this is just bare minimum enjoyment. Like, better is one day in his course than thousands. Like there's awaiting for us something even better than what you're experiencing on this side of eternity. But I want to lean into this idea that like, yo, life isn't just difficult. It's also beautiful. Like I was on a walk last night during sunset at the lake, and the way the sun was hitting the water, it was so majestic. I had to stop and just stare. I couldn't, bro. It was so beautiful. I couldn't just keep moving. I couldn't just keep walking. I had to sit. I had to stop. I had to gaze. I had to take in the beauty. This is just the sunset, you know, and we get that every day. Every single day we get a sunset, right? And every single day the sunset looks different, bro. The colors change. There are days where I see orange and purple and yellow and like, it's like the colors. It's just so beautiful, bro. And then in addition to that, like, bro, laughter. Anybody who knows me knows I love to laugh. I love watching stand-up comedy. Me and my friends, Jesus is as serious as we get. If we're not talking Jesus, we're roasting. We're cracking jokes. We're having a good old time. And laughter is just such a good gift. Like, have you ever thought about this idea that, like, Satan didn't create laughter? Humanity didn't create laughter. Like, God in his infinite wisdom, God in his grace, God in his mercy and his love towards us gave us the gift of laughter. That there's something that studies show that people who laugh more live longer.
Hey, we're going to be living for a long time.
Yo, like I actually, I studied psychology in undergrad, and I took an abnormal psychology class, and we had a case study, and we found a patient who was healed of cancer through laugh therapy. Like, think about that for a second. Someone got healed or delivered or set free. I'm just using churchy language there. Or somebody beat cancer as a result of laughing. Like, think about like what laughter could do for the body, what laughter could do for the mind, what laughter can do for lifespan. A good gift, bro. Like, he didn't have to, life could have easily been boring. It didn't have to be creative. It didn't have to be funny. Like, we could have easily like just lived life in such a way where nothing was funny to us. Now, when I think about that, that's such a sad life, bro.
Terrible.
Such a sad life. But like, God in his grace was like, yo, I want my children. Like, you don't even have to be a child of God. This is common grace. I just want people to be blessed by laughter, jokes, stories. Bro, another thing that like is so near and dear to me, and it's the reason why I've gained 10 pounds this year. I need to lock in, y'all. I need to lock in. But that's what we call happy weight. We'll have a whole nother episode about that. Oh, Jesus. Food, bro. Like, I remember when we were on tour, we were in LA. Every city we went to is amazing, but specifically when we were in LA, Preston took us to this spot. It was a steak spot. When I tell you, I've never had steak that tasted so good. And the lobster mac and cheese, the French fries, the drinks, I was like, hey, yo, like, what is going on right now? Like, as I'm taking a bite, the different flavors are just coming alive. They're dancing on my tongue. They are literally, I'm literally having an experience as I'm eating. Like, ain't no way food can taste so good. How do you mix different spices and herbs and salt and this thing and that? And it all culminates to this, and it all becomes this, and I get to enjoy it, and it's good. And like, food could have just been seen as fuel. God could have easily made it where you didn't have to enjoy food. And this is something you have to do every single day. Think about it. This is something you have to do every day to live. And God said, instead of making what they've got to do every day boring and bland. I know some, depending on who's listening to this episode, you like your food bland.
My God.
That's for me in my house.
Deliver them, Lord.
I believe in spice and flavor and all that good stuff. But like, God could have easily made it so we just ate just to eat. But he's like, no, like, you can really enjoy this, you know? And I'm just like, wow, like, we don't talk about that enough. God's grace towards our life in this way through art. And bro, I think about something like movies and TV shows. I think about character development and plot and climax. And I'm like, wow, God has made us to be narrative. Like, I don't know, story is woven into the very, like, it's like deep within who we are. Like, we're moved by story. We're moved by, and I think about how, like, there are some really good authors. There are some really good filmmakers. And a good story, like, I don't know about you, but, and this may be dramatic for some, but like, follow me for a second. When a good TV show ends, I low-key get depressed for a little bit.
My life is different.
Yeah.
And a very real aspect of my day,
Yeah.
my week, is just like, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Bro, like, I remember I watched Suits last summer, binge watched that thing. And when I finished watching it, I was like, that's it? No more? But what's next? That's good story writing. Like, I enjoyed the story so much that I literally got sad when it ended, you know? And I think, like, we need to talk about that more. Like, there are things in like, even our purpose, it's not just burdensome. It's beautiful. It's light. It's enjoyable. Like, this podcast is a ministry to me. This podcast has come with a lot of sacrifices, a lot of tears. This podcast has come with a lot of struggle. But man, when we get in the studio and we turn the lights on and we hit record, I just feel alive. I feel connected to God. I feel like I'm walking in my it's not just burdensome. There's a level of enjoyment that comes with it. Like I really like what I do, and it makes me feel like I've accomplished something. It makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel like I'm doing something with my life. And God gave me gifts, and God gave me opportunities, and God gave me desires, and God gave me like, I think about these things and I'm like, why aren't we talking about them? And I think, Parker, I know I've been speaking for a while. I'll get to you in a second, but like, I think part of the reason we don't talk about enjoying life, part of the reason why I think we don't talk about enjoying creation is because we're so scared that we'll worship creation that we don't encourage people to enjoy creation. And I think this is dangerous because you and I are susceptible to worship anything. Tim Keller said an idol is anything good or bad that takes the place of God. So watch this. Your ministry can be an idol. We don't like to talk about that. Some of us can make our Bible reading plan an idol. And what do I mean by that? We're no longer reading to foster an intimate relationship with the Lord, but we're reading because it's become a religion. And now we're worshiping the feeling we get because we accomplished something on our checklist, and not reading because we're invited to enjoy God's presence. And so I think like I get the fear, right? Even with food, I talked about I gained 10 pounds. I think like there's a thing as like overdoing it, but I feel like just because you can overdo something doesn't mean you can't enjoy something. I think the call is discipline, it's not to rid ourselves of like an experience or a grace or a gift from God. What do you have to say to that, Parker?
A couple things. So one, going back a little bit to, it was interesting when you were talking about the TV show ending and you're kind of like, yo, what am I supposed to do now? I think that shows, okay, there's a couple things with that. I think that points to the fact that like these things are temporary.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to point to something greater.
Come on now.
And so like
He's
even
preaching.
in Colossians, where it says like all things were made through him and for him.
Yes.
Right? Like all of these things are great. There's going to be a point where they don't fulfill you completely.
Yeah.
Because there's like it's a foreshadow. It's a representation of something that's greater. And so even the point that you started from of saying like the joy is like eternal, it's forever, it will continue to fulfill you. These things aren't meant to fulfill you, but they are meant to like point you to something greater. So that's why like as believers we do have a freedom and a liberty to enjoy these things because they're meant not to sustain us, but to point us to something greater and to someone who can actually fulfill us.
Okay.
And so we can maybe get into this part as well, but I think that's why like do we take things in moderation? For sure. Are there things that maybe we should or some people can handle and some people can't? Yeah, that's absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, there's a reason that we like have the things that we have, that we can like, that the DNA of like narrative is in all of us. Like we all enjoy a good story. We all enjoy seeing where things go. We all like to laugh. We all like good food, whatever that good is to each person. Like we all enjoy that. Like we're created with these things to like point to like emotion and love. And even like sadness and anger, like maybe not in the moment, but over time with the proper perspective, you can appreciate like even those things. Even what's the movie Inside Out, where like they like will focus so much on like, oh, I don't remember the exact plot, but the long and short of it was like at one point somebody realized like, oh, without the sad moments, like the happy moments don't like weigh as much, and so like everything like plays a role.
That's right.
And so I think that like bro, I think just like there's so much that we can also like focus on that is like great, and it points to the greatness of our relationship with the Lord. Bro,
okay. We got to go there because I think that's also the difference between the Christian and the non-Christian. The non-Christian will eat a plate of steak and it ends with them enjoying it. For the believer, they'll eat a plate of steak and it rolls to glory. Like it turns into praise. It turns into adoration. It turns into God, thank you. God, I didn't deserve this, but you made it. You gave me taste buds. You gave me the means to afford the steak. You gave us the raw ingredients to make steak like this, taste like this. Like, I think you're right. I think that like we have to talk about how like enjoying creation should turn into giving God praise and glory. And I think that we can only fully enjoy something when we know where it came from and who's responsible for it. And that also gets into what you're talking about. Like, if you know that food or story or laughter or creation or like sunsets came from God, then you know how to respond to it properly. You have less temptation to worship it because now you know the person who created the thing. And so that's helpful. And I love how you talked about like, if you have the temptation to turn this into an idol, then kill it. That's why I love what Hebrews says. Hebrews talks about like, let us get rid of the sin and the thing that I'm paraphrasing right now that entangles us. So I love what the author does. He doesn't just communicate that sin gets us off the right path. There are other things that might not be qualified as sin that will hinder our faith. So for instance, I've had seasons in my life where I've had to die to or get rid of, I don't even like using this term, but for the sake of the conversation, secular music, because it went from me observing the song, me listening to the song, to the song becoming the thing that like drove my thought life, hindered my intimacy with the Lord. It started planting seeds of worldviews that were robbing me of an opportunity to love my neighbor in the way I'm called to love my neighbor, to spend my money in the way that would honor God, to see women in the way God has called me to see women. And so there are things that like we've got to be mindful of, right? But at the same time, just because like there are some who have to die to a Netflix subscription in a season doesn't mean everybody's called to die to a Netflix subscription, right? So I think that's a good call out. And then secondly, the second point you made, I wanted to like hit on that too. I forgot you
about having things done in moderation.
Was that the second point?
I'm kind of blanking. I know I talked about like how all these things point to like something greater.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that was the first point, but yeah. I definitely wanted, like, that's so good because like everything is fleeting, but God isn't. And so as we're losing out on these moments, as it's slipping through our hands, bro, like I can't believe my 20s are gone. I'm turning 34 in a couple of weeks and I'm like, whoa, I'm almost halfway through my 30s. Yeah. Life is like but a vapor. You know, it's like here today and gone tomorrow. I remember dreaming about getting my license. I remember dreaming about the college experience. I remember dreaming about getting out of school and having my first big boy job and having my first apartment and all of these pleasures and all of these like beautiful things that I looked forward to were here and then they're gone. And that speaks to what I wanted. I'm so glad you said that. It points to God, right? Ecclesiastes speaks to this. Ecclesiastes 3 says this: I perceived that there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also, that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. This is God's gift to man. I love this because the author is Solomon. Solomon had everything in the world, the richest man to ever live. And he's saying, as long as you live, eat and drink and enjoy. Take pleasure. Take pleasure in your toil. That too is a gift from God. And I think like even now as I'm saying that, it feels icky, right? Because my mind goes to 1 Corinthians where Paul says like, if Jesus doesn't resurrect, then let's eat and drink and be merry, for tomorrow we die. But what Paul is saying in 1 Corinthians is let's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, as a result of there is no meaning to life.
Like if there's nothing left, then like sure,
do that.
If there's no meaning here,
There's no
you
meaning
might as
here.
well just sure, like do what you want to do.
But what Solomon is saying is everything is meaningless. And what he means by meaningless is life is but a vapor. It's a mist. And so what do you do with something that's meaningless? You enjoy it. What do you do with something that's a vapor, that's disappearing, that's here today and gone tomorrow? You enjoy it. You live in it, but you don't worship it. You don't live for drinks. You don't live for food. You live for God. But just because the thing is fleeting doesn't mean there isn't any enjoyment you can get from it. Just because I'll never be 16 again and get my license for the first time doesn't mean God didn't take delight in me enjoying the fact that I got my license. Just because my college experience is gone doesn't mean God didn't take delight in the fact that I took delight in this coming of age moment in my life, and I'm experiencing freedom for the first time, and I'm traveling to Chicago with my friends for the first time, and my parents aren't there. Like the excitement and the joy that came with that. Just because that moment is gone now doesn't mean that in the moment God didn't delight in me delighting in that. But I don't live for that. I don't live for food. I live for God. And that's the distinction I want to make, is things should point to God. When things end, it should be a reminder that the only thing eternal is God. And when you know that the only thing eternal is God, you enjoy the thing differently. You enjoy it differently. Like, I think about like people like Drake, who says, I can't imagine like heaven getting any better than this. Like, the reason why that's so, I fear for him is because what happens when your rap career is gone? What happens when people stop booking you? What happens when people stop singing your songs? Everybody in hip hop becomes old news, bro. Everybody. And the thing is, you can enjoy all that comes with, I mean, I'm not talking about like enjoying sin, right? But I'm just getting at this idea that all of it is fleeting. All of it is passing by. There was a time in our life where the greatest rapper was Kanye West. He's no longer like, if we are talking about him, we're not talking about his music. Right? There was a time in our life where Ja Rule was the biggest hip hop artist. And now we think about the Fire Festival when we think of him.
He's a punchline, bro. I saw a TikTok about that today. So it's like, you want to see this Ja Rule concert? They're like, Ja Rule?
Ja Rule? What are we talking about, bro? And so what am I I'm not trying to knock Ja Rule. Ja Rule, we love you. Come on the podcast. We love to have you. Kanye, come talk to us. We're worried about you. We're praying for you. What I'm trying to get at is this idea that if something is fleeting, our relationship with it should be different. It doesn't mean we stop enjoying it. It means we enjoy it differently. We put it in its proper place. We don't worship it. We don't live for it. Because here's the thing. When you start living for fame, I heard Lecrae talking about this. There was a time where he got on a plane and he sat next to this old NBA star. And the whole time he was talking about his glory days. And Lecrae is like, bro, that sounds so like insecure. You're just holding on to it, a memory that no longer, like, you so bad, or you're living in the past so much that you don't even know how to show up today. Like, the best thing about you is like the time that you played in the NBA. And I really like, I feel for people, because it's not just people in the world who do this. Christians do this too, where we're like holding on to a moment so much. If we were to talk about dating, I think that's why we like don't break up well with our boyfriends and girlfriends. Like, if it doesn't work out, we're over here like, we should have enjoyed it for what it was. I get there's heartbreak, and when it doesn't work out and you had plans, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to that, but I think sometimes we're holding on to something or someone longer than we need to because we're not enjoying it properly. Instead of living for God, we're living for the partner. Instead of living for God, we're living for our idea of what life would look like with this person. And again, I want to make space for that and be sensitive to that. And I've been there, but at the same time, like, to Parker's point, it should roll like, everything is fleeting. Even if that girlfriend, boyfriend turned into a spouse, they're not there forever. Like, even if it worked out and you proposed and you got proposed to and you got engaged and you got married, like, your partner won't be your partner forever. That there's coming a day where even that, as beautiful as marriage is, it's coming to an end. It's fleeting. And when it's fleeting, you enjoy it differently. And so, yeah, any thoughts about that?
So. I mean, one thing about that I will say, I do think like when I think about like trips that we've taken or friends that are in town or a good movie or just something, you can either count down how much time you have left and be like, dang, once this is over, it's back to whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, yo, just make the most of like what you have available. And I think like that takes you making a conscious decision, and that can be difficult because there is a reality of something not being there anymore. And that's very real.
Right.
But I think that like, again, bro, like it's just you can rob yourself of the enjoyment of what that thing is if you're so focused on what it's going to look like when it's not there. And so like there have been things where after it's over, I've been like, dang, I didn't remember this. I didn't focus on this part. Or dang, y'all had this conversation. Or dang, y'all went to go do whatever. And I look back and I'm like, dang, I was so focused on trying to accomplish something or trying to focus on like, oh dang, well, what does this mean for this or that? Or how is this going to translate into whatever, that I'm not just like enjoying it for what it was. And I don't have as rich of a memory of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but that's something that's what I would respond to for that.
I get that. And that I've had to call that out in me. Like I've had experiences, like for instance, when I'm on tour, bro, I feel so alive. Like it's one of my favorite things to do like live podcast shows and to like engage with people and have Q&A. There's something so fulfilling about it to me. And I remember like after the first tour ended, I got so sad. And I remember God convicting me like, yo, enjoy what it was. But tour life is not something you live for. It's something you can enjoy, you're a part of, and has a purpose. And once it's over, it's over. But watch this, like you have me, where I've got joy and I've got pleasure. And what you find in me, this tour will never give you, you know? And so I think that's the thing. And then Ecclesiastes chapter 9, I like this. Verse 7 says, go eat your bread with joy, drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. And again, the context is understanding that life is fleeting, that life is, so it's like, once you get that these moments are fleeting, he says, go get some pizza.
Yeah. And bro, the thing too, at this point, Solomon is an old man, bro. Like even at the beginning, like this is something I've used as well, but we love going to 3 when he's like, everything has its time or this doesn't matter. It's like, this is an old man who has lived his life. Who's like, yo, after being here for some time. Yo, just relax. This doesn't really mean anything. This is going to pass. This happens. And so I think that there's also value in being like, this isn't just, I think like in Psalms, I think there's a beauty in that, right? But I shouldn't say but. There's also context in that David is navigating like emotions and different things like that. And there's a time and place that we apply that. I think in the same way with Solomon, like, yo, this is an old man who has lived his life. This is an elder who's being like, let me let y'all in on some stuff. And so I think that there's also value in that, just like, this is someone who's had everything that he could have, from relationships to money to, bro, access to the Lord in relationships, and had God give him supernatural wisdom. Like he's had everything that he could, anyone could ever like truly possibly want. And for him to be like, yo, just relax, chill. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that like, there are times where I'll hear different people in faith and it seems like they're just walking around with so much heaviness, bro. And I'm just like, yo, just relax. And I don't say that to say like that there aren't things happening in life where there's not burdens that you feel or whatever. But I think that some of the response or the verbiage that I hear around the relationship with the Lord is like, because of calling, because of the weight of what God has put on their heart, because of the responsibility that they have, because of what they're about to step into. And it's just like, yes, there's an awareness that you need to have, and you need to be sober-minded. Also, it's just like, yo, just chill sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And so we were even talking before in Philippians where Paul talks about Like, yo, I've had everything and I've also had nothing.
Nothing.
And in all of those things, I can do it because of Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so even when like
That's good.
this talking about like, yo, just relax and take it easy. I'm not saying that from the standpoint of like, yo, ignore everything and discard it. I'm saying that in light of who you are in relationship with, you have access and ability to walk through things with a sense of ease and like joy. Like joy isn't an emotion, it's a disposition. And so like in relationship with the Lord, you're able to approach certain things and just be like, yo, it is what, bro, stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
Things are going to go left. Things are going to go right. That's a bar. Things are going to like go at a speed that you're expecting. Certain things are going to be surprises. Relationships work. They don't work. Yeah. And so that's not to say as things come up, don't be honest with your emotions. Don't be real with people. Don't confront.
Yeah.
But there's a level of stability that we have access to because something that we do know is that we're going to have trouble.
Right.
We're going to have unexpected things come up.
Yeah.
And we know that we have God. If nothing else, you can rely on those three things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so in that, there's an availability that you have to just like, yo, just like, it's cool. Yeah. Like even the things that God calls us to, some things might be sudden. There's also things that it's just like, he might show you something, but it'll also like take time to get there. Right. And so for like people who are saying like, oh, God has me, he put this on my heart. I feel like God's calling me into such and such. God also is very strategic. Yeah. He's also not going to just throw you out to the wolves. Will he put you in places where you feel like you're not prepared? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. That's kind of the whole deal. Yeah. He's also going to like prepare and train and teach and like put you through things like sequentially and at different stages and walk with you through steps and different things like that. Yeah. And so, I just think that like, it's just, I think in light of like, what Ecclesiastes says, and then also just like what I hear from certain people, it's just like, yo, just calm down. Yeah, like it's just take a minute, go watch a movie, go outside, just
watch a movie, like, bro.
And
bro, yeah. That just reminds me of like we don't have a complete picture of what the soul is. When we think of the soul, we think of this thing that like is in our body, but the soul is made up of the mind, made up of the body, made up of the heart or the spirit, right? Think about that for a second. The soul is all encompassing. So sometimes your soul is downcast, not because you haven't been praying and fasting, but because you haven't exercised.
Get outside.
You need to go outside. Your feet need to touch grass, bro. Like, you got to be barefoot out here in this grass, bro.
Getting some sun.
Get some vitamin
D.
Bro, get some vitamin. Like, I even see it, bro. Like, when summer comes around, I'm a completely different, have grace and mercy on me. We live in Minneapolis. It's cold out here in these streets,
and my man be struggling in the wintertime.
Struggling.
As soon as it turned October, everybody be like, here we go.
That's me. Just posting the first snowfall all the time. But watch this. Like, what I'm trying to get at is like, our soul is connected to our body, is connected to our mind. And so sometimes our spirit is off because we haven't worked out. Our spirit is off not because we're not going to church. Our spirit is off because we haven't had good thoughts. That's why even in Philippians, Paul says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is good, think on these things, right? Like, I just think that like sometimes we need to understand that enjoying creation is a form of enjoying God. And enjoying creation isn't just something we do to take a break from God. Enjoying creation is part of living for God. Mm-hmm. Like when you are in fellowship with community, one of my favorite things to do, like, bro, like I live in Uptown. I've got a nice rooftop, bonfire, overlooking the skyline. And one of my favorite things to do is to invite my friends over. We sit down with the views, preferably sunset, going into the evening, turn on the bonfire. Maybe we have some food. Maybe we're grilling. There's some grills up on that rooftop. Sometimes we're bringing our food, snacks, drinks, whatever it is. And we sit and somebody's got the guitar and we just busting out in song, or we're like telling stories and we're laughing, or we're opening up to each other about our relationship issues and we're consoling each other and laughing at the relationship issues. Like it doesn't take much, bro. And I know there have been many of times, bro, when I've left that rooftop and I've been like, thank you, Lord, I needed that. That enjoying my friends, enjoying a song, enjoying some laughter helped me love Jesus more and helped me endure well. And I don't think that's talked about enough. I feel like we need to get back to this understanding that like the part of what God has called us to is to enjoy earth. Like everybody, like I think about the new heavens and new earth too. Like this idea that like God's plan for us is to restore, like we're called to live and love in such a way where we restore the earth in the way it's originally intended to be or to be lived in. And so like our even the Lord's Prayer, our God in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're called to bring heaven down, bro. Like, so like, instead of sitting here and just saying, one day I'm going to go to heaven and everything will be taken away. One day I'm going to go to heaven. It's going to be no more tears. One day I'm going to go to heaven and there's going to be no more pain. Yes and amen. And that's true. But we are also called to bring heaven down. We don't always have to wait to heaven to stop crying. We don't always have to wait till heaven to start laughing. That God has given us things here, and we're called to restore things here in such a way where we can have glimpses of heaven on earth.
Yeah, to sit in that, huh?
Bro, we need to talk about this. Yeah, like I just, bro, like there's something so therapeutic about a concert. Like I've been to a concert before and I've walked out lighter. There's something so beautiful about traveling with your friends. I remember like for one of my best friends, Yosef, for his bachelor party, we drove to Miami. It's so funny. Everybody's like, what do Christians do in Miami? We played volleyball on the beach and ate tacos. That's what we did in Miami. But we didn't fly to Miami. We drove to Miami. And the conversations we had on that 15, 16, 17-hour road trip, I remember to this day, and I'll cherish for the rest of my life. The laughs that we had, the pranks that we did, the tears that we cried, the dreams that we shared, the hopes that we exchanged. Like, those moments carried me, and they've carried me. Like, there's something about enjoying people. Like, there's something about enjoying the like playing volleyball on the beach that like really serves your soul well. And so, yeah, man, I'm just thinking about like how like we need to get back to like, again, we don't live for playing volleyball. You know, I think about that, like that Chipotle is life, right? Like I'm not saying beach volleyball is life. I'm not saying for me to live is beach volleyball. I'm not saying for me to live is like rooftop memories. I'm not saying for me to live is a good steak dinner. For me to live is Christ. I mean, even the way like Solomon ends Ecclesiastes, he says, now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it's good or evil. So the way he concludes it, he's saying, don't worship life. Life is meaningless, or it's a vapor. It's fleeting. Enjoy it. But he's like, at the end of the day, what really matters is obeying God. That, like, he says, I sum up life in this way: fear God and keep his commands. And so I'm not even getting at this idea that like we abandon the faith to enjoy life. All I'm saying is enjoying life is part of the faith, and that God delights in this. Like God could have easily made life mundane and boring. He could have made food mundane and boring. He could have made friendship mundane and boring. We didn't have to have color. We didn't have to have creativity. We didn't have to have arts. We didn't have to have a sunset. We didn't have to have fashion. We didn't have to have drinks. None of that had to exist. And I think that like we are called as Christians to also enjoy life. And I think in enjoying life, we enjoy God. And in enjoying life, our faith is satisfied, and our faith is filled up, and our faith can endure, right? And so, yeah, man. Any other thoughts, Parker? I think I said all that I had to say.
I think one more quick thing. I think just like highlighting what you said about spending time with friends, I think that it's also, with all of the burdens that we do have in life, part of what makes that easier is doing that with other people. And so when we look at Galatians, when we look at, I forget where it is, but where it says like, as long as it's called today, like encourage one another. So I think that like part of what helps us to get through to manage like the burden and get through the things that are like difficult. And it's difficult to enjoy life when you do have just like life happening to you. You know what I'm saying? Part of what makes that more manageable is when you have people around you who are able to help you like navigate that well. And so I think like that's also why like when I was talking about Solomon speaking from the perspective of his age, like there are people who have like been through certain things that you've been through. There are people who have been navigated like similar situations, or who are, at the very least can be like, yo, like there are very much ups and there are very much downs in this thing that we call faith. Life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Faith, life, everything. And so I think that like you will also rob yourself of the enjoyment if you're trying to do it alone, or if you don't allow people to like speak into it, or you don't lean on other people, communicate, say that you need help, say that like, yo, like this is tough. And having someone else be able to be like, I know, right? That alone can like just help you get through the day. Yeah. And so I think, yeah, as much as we do enjoy life, I think that like part of how we are able to do that is with other people. Because some of us just like there's benefit in like, yo, discover these things for yourself. See what you like, see how God speaks to you. Also like, yo, there are other people that you can do this with that just make life so much better and so much more rich. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I'm gonna say, so you just sparked a thought, and I might get in trouble for saying this.
Oh Lord.
And I'm open to correction.
Clip this, chat.
I don't agree with the notion that like all you need is God. Because if all you need was God, he wouldn't create community. Let us make man in our image, plural. God himself is a community. God looks down on Adam. This is God. This is not Satan. No serpent. He said, it is not good for man to be alone. Bro, like, you know, babies, as soon as they're born, if they don't experience touch, they die. If they don't feel embrace, if they're not hugged, if they're not held on to, the baby's susceptible to die from lack of touch. Let's let that sit for a second. Like, it doesn't matter how spiritual you are or how long your fast is. You will literally die if you don't drink water and eat food. Can I talk about sleep? I don't care how much of a go-getter you are. If you don't sleep well and rest, your body will get sick. Your body is susceptible to passing earlier than maybe you were destined to die. Like, I don't, it doesn't matter what you believe in life. You need a narrative. You need something. You need a story to wake you up in the morning. Why do you get up? Who do you want to be? Why do you want to be that? What is motivating you? What is, like, we are moved by stories. Like, the Bible is one big, we think it's the best story, the ultimate story, the only story that really should be lived for. But everybody is wired for story. And it doesn't matter where you are or who you are. Everybody's trying to figure out who the hero is in their story and the villain in their story. Everybody's looking for a protagonist. Everybody's looking for an antagonist. Like, we need these things, right? I don't care how gifted you are. Tim Keller talks about this in his book, Every Good Endeavor. We are so dependent on each other. So for instance, like, you know, when people say, I'm self-made, I'm self-made, I'm self-made.
Cap.
We can obviously talk about how God has given you a lot of what you need, but let me just put that on pause for a second. Aside from what God has done for you, if you want to be a podcaster and you've got this gift to ask questions and you've got this gift to communicate, you know what you still need? You still need a mic. You need a mic stand. You need an XLR cable. You need a board. You need a camera. You need a platform. So no matter how self-made you are in this podcast game, you are so dependent on Sony. You are so dependent on Shure. You are so dependent on the Rodecaster. Like, are you going to do all that too? You're a gifted communicator, but you know nothing about technology, right? And so, like, think about how, like, we are even so dependent. Like, everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna travel for work. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna go there. Okay, like, did you make the airplane? Did you create the airport system? Did like I just don't understand how we can sit here and say like, oh, I'm self-made, when we are extremely dependent on each other. Extremely dependent. Like we need one another for society and civilization to exist. And so I would even say like we need God, and I'd rather have God than anything else. And God can be my community. God can sustain me. God can provide for me. I'm not taking any away from God, but all I'm saying is I don't even know if God has designed us to live that way. I think God has designed us to need one another. I think God has designed us to eat. I think God has designed us to sleep. I think God has designed us to be dependent on each other so we can bring heaven down. And so all I'm saying is part of what it looks like to embrace this idea of enjoying life is by acknowledging that God has wired us to do so. He's wired us to do so. Again, that doesn't mean we abuse it or worship it or live for it. But I would argue we need to enjoy. Yeah. That's all I got. Now that's all I got. Unless Parker says something, mess me up again.
No, just
actually think of
some of y'all just gotta relax.
Relax.
It's just not like it's deep, but it's just relax. Go to sleep. Take it easy. Just pipe down. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna be all right. It's okay. Ring out your sin, but also just go find a good meal. Just relax.
Ring out your sin and take a nap, bro. Yeah. Well, that's all we have for you today. Until next time, family, peace and grace. Shaping the code.